some $3.2 billion, making this the second largest IPO in Hong Kong this year. But remember, JD Logistics is facing fierce competition in the express delivery sector as more participants edge into the market. Its Q1 earnings fell nearly 73% compared to a year ago and is expected to record a significant adjusted loss this year. Well, the listing comes at a time when Chinese authorities are tightening regulations on fintech companies and targeting tech giants with stricter anti-monopoly rules. And one expert tells us why investors piled into JD Logistics IPO and the prospects for the logistics industry in China.
Well, what's actually attracting investors is that if you look at the logistic industry in China, it's actually growing at a very fast speed. I mean, maybe 20% per year because of the digital market has been growing. And JD Logistics is actually a very competitive player in this market, probably only next to Shunfeng Logistics. So investors are really confident and happy about this stock, and it actually provides them with a new opportunity to buy a competitor of Shunfeng, a very strong, capable competitor of Shunfeng. So, you are an investor, you find more targets, you're pretty happy about that. For this industry, it will be under pressure for quite a while in the future. Meanwhile, the expansion rate will still keep on expanding. I mean, the growing rate will be around 20 to 30% for years because China's digital industry is actually increasing. But the problem over here is that the government is putting a lot of pressure onto things like employee protection, benefit to employees, social insurance, monopoly, all these kinds of things cut the potential profit that might be gained by these companies. So what you might see in the next few years is that the market keep on increasing because the digital market is actually expanding. The growth speed will still be there, 20%, 30%, but the profitability will be low or even negative. So it really based on how the investors are going to look at that. The market sentiment will play a lot in here. If investors believe that the profitability will return and the market is still growing, you will see a very bull market. But on the other hand, if people say, okay, they are not going to make a lot of money in the future, even if they are very large companies, the valuation will drop.
A strong showing in Malaysia's trade data, and with April exports surging 60% from 1 year ago. That's the fastest pace of growth in more than 2 decades. And exports rose across all categories except for liquefied natural gas and transport equipment. Imports increased 24% in April from 1 year ago, outpacing the 19% rise in March. Malaysia's April trade surplus was $4.94 billion. It's been a month of volatility for cryptocurrencies, and with Bitcoin tumbling some 30% from its peaks on concerns over increased regulation. Bitcoin also fluctuated when one of its most influential backers, Elon Musk, turned against the cryptocurrency earlier this month over environmental concerns. Critics have been sounding the alarm on Bitcoin's energy use for years. According to a Cambridge University study, Bitcoin mining produces as much CO2 as New Zealand does in 1 year. And Bitcoin works under a system called proof of work. It is not controlled by any single authority like a central bank, but rather a disparate network of computers. So-called miners then compete to solve complex math puzzles in order to make a transaction go through. The process is energy-intensive and expensive. The alternative to this is proof of stake, which is being used by cryptos such as Cardano. And proof of stake takes a different approach to security by ensuring trust in a more old-fashioned currency money. And validators stake their own crypto on the network. Instead of considering the secondary cost of electricity to run a proof of work node, proof of stake chains are forced to directly deposit the monetary amount onto the network. Still, skeptics say that this is not the ultimate solution to the environmental concerns around cryptocurrencies. We spoke earlier to Joseph Pallant, Director of Climate Innovation at EcoTrust Canada, on how to green cryptocurrencies.
Bitcoin is going to stay at proof of work. There's no serious discussion about ever changing that. And so I think environmental focus there needs to be around greening the energy supply, more transparency, and then offsetting the rest, in my opinion. With Ethereum, it's been proof of work until now. They started the shift to proof of stake last December, and I believe in the next year or so, we'll have fully made that transition. Yes, it's complicated, but the Ethereum community is brilliant, dedicated, and has been quite pulling off magic as far as I can tell, in terms of what they've developed and evolved. So I believe that that will happen, and that will drive emissions down, 99% or more. And so I think that is a durable solution for the climate issue around Ethereum. We have other proof of stake coins natively, like the Near protocol, that's now able to use the Aurora and Bridge, the Rainbow Bridge, to connect their proof of stake blockchain with the currently proof of work and in the future proof of stake Ethereum, and connect a lot of the programs so that they can run on both. This is what's important for me is, now that we're recognizing this as an issue, people are making strides to solve it, is we need to get to a green baseline and then really keep focusing on using these innovative, world-changing tools, not only to be carbon neutral in their use, but to start building the tools that will actually help humanity fight climate change. And so that's very important to us.
Well, that's the latest in business. Back to you, Glenda.
All right, thanks very much for that, Henry. COVAX says it needs an additional $2 billion in less than a week in order to boost coronavirus inoculation programs in lower-income countries. It warns the consequences could be catastrophic if the current urgent shortfall is not addressed. The global vaccine sharing program has already delivered 70 million vaccine doses to 126 countries, but it faces a shortfall of 190 million shots by the end of next month due to the severe impact on its supply from the surge of infections in India. COVAX aims to deliver 2 billion doses of vaccines worldwide this year and 1.8 billion doses to 92 lower-income economies by early next year. Meanwhile, the WHO says Africa needs at least 20 million doses of AstraZeneca's COVID-19 vaccine within the next 6 weeks. And this is to get the second round of shots to people who've already received the first. More US states are jumping on the incentives bandwagon to encourage their residents to get vaccinated. The latest and most lucrative yet? Cash and gift cards worth more than $116 million for Californian residents. It's part of efforts to boost vaccinations before the state fully reopens by the middle of next month. Besides the gift cards, 10 people will be able to win $1.5 million each. Another 30 will receive $50,000. And the state estimates 12 million eligible Californians have not yet been vaccinated. New York is also cashing in on the multi-incentives offered throughout the city. From Junior's cheesecakes in Brooklyn to Krispy Kreme donuts in Times Square. Now you get it all by simply flashing your vaccine card.
Because the sooner everyone gets vaccinated, the sooner we get back to normal. The sooner we get to not wear this anymore.
I came for my free cheesecake because I got vaccinated.
Get vaccinated and get a free donut.
I don't want to say this is one of the reasons I got vaccinated, because it wasn't, but it's definitely a plus.
Well, up ahead on Asia now, Chinese officials slammed the Biden administration over a COVID-19 probe. And later, girls need higher scores than boys to get into 80% of Tokyo's public high schools.
Bearing the brunt of worsening global warming.
As we see the whole landscape changing, it is really impacting our way of life.
Can we reduce our carbon footprint to fight climate change?
We're doing our bit to not rely so much on the coal-fired power stations to power what we do in our house.
Are the steps we're taking really enough? CNA correspondent fighting climate change. Tonight on CNA.
ちゃんは山梨名物のほうとう食べたいもの触れていません。これ全部いつもオフかな。
こうやってなるんだ。いい話。
はいはい。
Japan Hour Saturday on CNA. Japan Hour is brought to you by Sumitomo Corporation and SMBC.